have never seen Lalibela without any foreigners, let's say. The entire people that were there were all Ethiopian. There was one lady that said, I sat down and cried, just being able to see the entire Lalibela with Ethiopians. Even though this Malian artist came to Ethiopia to record this video. This video is recorded in Afar.
We're not expecting anyone to come and visit us from abroad, but we will be enough for one another to bring Africa as being one stop of a tourism destination for the entire world.
How are you going to convince an Ethiopian to go to Kenya versus Dubai?
Selling for each other is going to give us a pride about our African culture. So when we are developing our culture, it will support the economy. We're not paying that foreign currency to outside world, but rather we are spending to our own continent.
Who's responsible for African tourists in Ethiopia?
It's obvious that Ethiopia is safe for travelers.
Combining the Ethiopian Masinko player with the Moroccan Masinko player.
Exactly.
And I've noticed a lot of people don't even know that the Moroccans play the Masinko.
Imagine.
Have you been to Mali?
Not yet, but I believe we are going to together. We're going to there.
Okay, everybody heard this one now, Hiwote. Greetings, this is the new Pan-African show called AfreeQa, and I am your host, Katsalork Seifu. Welcome to all our visitors, including my guest Hiwote. I hope you all have a wonderful Epiphany Tumkat holiday. So Hiwote, welcome. Thank you for coming to the AfreeQa show. And since it's Epiphany, Tumkat, I would like to invite you one song before we get into the interview.
Oh, thank you.
And the song is Tumkat Bagonder, Taddese Makati.
Wow. Thank you so much. It really
Took you home.
bring me back my childhood because I was born in Gondar and raised there. This time of Tumkat, we were just dying to see the days coming and celebrate together because we all are going to have a new dress. There is a saying of Amharic, "Letumkat yalhone qamis yibatatas," So that reminds me a lot. Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad. So Hiwote actually owns her own tourism company called Typically Ethiopia Tours. And then on top of that, you're also an ambassador for the African Tourism Board, correct?
Yes.
Right. So my first question would be, what does it mean when they say tourism specialist?
By saying that the tourism specialist, you must have years of experience in a different way of tourism activities. It can be like being a tourist guide or working or serving as a tourist guide, a tour provider, and having a specialty in studying tourism deeply, and being engaged and passionate for tourism. Through all that way, you are achieving that, being a specialist in tourism.
Okay.
Most of all, that's in my experience. I have been, for a brief time, that I have been a tourist guide as well. I've been graduated in tourism service and tour guiding. Plus, I have worked in different tour provider organizations in Addis as a tour operator and tour consultant for so many years. Then I've come up to establish my own It is on the way. Because of that, the COVID breakout, it is all delayed, but I'm into it anyway. But through this whole way, as I am so passionate for tourism, I've got so many engagements in different happenings, events, and trade fairs, mostly being virtual during the COVID season. Yeah, so that gave me lots of opportunity to be engaged with different happenings. Okay. That gives me even a connection with African Tourism Board, and since then I have worked so hard to get this title of that, being African Tourism Board ambassador representing Ethiopia at this time.
You know, I was just going to come up to that. It's very good that you ended on that note. So when you say that you're an ambassador to the African Tourism Board, what is it that you do for them? You're representing Ethiopia.
Yes.
Right? So let me back up. What does the African Tourism Board do? Where are they based?
Actually now there are so many restructuring moments. Okay. So it is now shifted, it's a headquarters to Eswatini. Yeah, and then it has an engagement with different African countries. Not only that, those African diasporas and different tourism stakeholders in different world. And then it got an engagement with different memberships of tour organizers, tourism stakeholders, hotelers, airlines, different stakeholders are engaged, but it's also represented by ambassadors in each African countries. So yeah, by being an African Tourism Board ambassador, I'm working as a representation of Ethiopia. In that term, we're working, spreading our activities and being in this industry. Most importantly, that the vision and the objective of African Tourism Board at this moment is to bring Africa as being one stop of a tourism destination for the entire world. This way is not easy to achieve, because it needs lots of collaborations between African tourism industry stakeholders. So we are all working on that closely. So through all this process, that I am believing that I will fulfill my obligations in representing Africa.
I hope so. That's lovely.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest impediments to inter-African tourism, in your opinion?
This is what I believe this new generation Pan-Africanism means for me. Because loving your country means loving your continent. As a continent, we haven't achieved that much, because all the resources are going from Africa, but we are receiving the end product.
Right.
It is not going to help for the development of Africa in any way. Look at the tourism industry. We are all looking to European customers, tourists only, the American customers, but not visiting ourselves. Even we don't know what Tanzania having to provide for African tourists. We're not seeing that what Namibia is just getting to show, but we all are just looking out.
Right.
This is exposed as in this COVID breakout, because we all are just, most of us shut it down.
Yeah.
And affected too much. But this moment also gave us an opportunity to see and look towards ourselves. You know, why we are going to Dubai while we are having Zanzibar as a beach tourist destination? Why we are going again Dubai or Singapore or any else while we are having the desert tourism in Namibia? This is what we missed.
Let me interrupt and ask you a question right there. So maybe the reason why people are going elsewhere is because, let's say, the airfare. Because me, myself, I had tried to go to another African country, and I found the tickets to be much more expensive than for me to go to Europe or America. So that right there is a huge problem. If it's cheaper for me to go to Europe, France, or Italy, or America, do you think I would choose Seychelles for double the price, or would I go to Europe? So that's a very, very big issue.
Yeah.
Because I also, as an event organizer, also have that problem. It's easier for me to bring artists from Europe or America than it is for me to bring from Africa, which sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as an ambassador and also having your own tourism office, how are you guys going to actually overcome this? How are you going to convince an Ethiopian to go to Kenya versus Dubai?
That is a good question, and it's most of the time in my mind because it is the same problem we are facing so far. So far the airlines are not engaged in giving an interesting rates to their residents. I don't know why, but it looks that expensive. If you are asking me that, even our own Ethiopian Airlines is giving a good service, and then it's an ambassador as well in airline industry for Africa. It's a pride for Africa. But at this moment, I believe that they should have to see their plans to give the very interesting rate for Ethiopians to initiate them to visit their destination areas. For example, I can mention that I have seen so many promotional materials circulated from Ethiopian Airlines that they are selling a holiday in Zanzibar in Tanzania. That is a good initiation. I really, really appreciate that. But how about the rest of their destinations? They're flying to all the African continents, I know. So this promotion is not that loud for me because we have potential visitors from Ethiopia. They're going in Thailand, in Dubai, anywhere else out of the continent. But, because of what you mentioned, the fair rule is not going to give them an opportunity to go to African countries and entertain themselves in our continent flavor. By the way, we had last time that we had this East African tourism trade fair happened in Tanzania. It was great start for Africans, even though it's a regional one for East African countries, but it gives too much opportunity for ourselves to see for each other, to see what we have, what we got to exchange in tourism service and culture. So I believe that we have a lot in common. I see my own tribe experience in southern Omo Valley tribe, experience in Namibia or in South Africa, and it makes me feel proud with the similarity of culture, music, and different activities in different African countries. That gives me a lot, satisfaction. Right. So, working on intra-Africa trade fair is not a choice, but we must do on that. We must do our best and work on intra-Africa, because in this way, when we develop, we're not expecting anyone to come and visit us from abroad, right. But we will be enough for one another,
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
absolutely.
I believe that.
Because one thing that I have heard last week, or the week before, I should say, during Christmas people go to Lalibela, and there were a lot of diasporas that had come and they were being interviewed, and some of them were saying, I have never seen Lalibela without any foreigners, let's say. The entire people that were there were all Ethiopian. There was one lady that said, I sat down and cried just being able to see the entire Lalibela with Ethiopians and seeing that green, yellow, red. She said it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it's good that we ourselves need to travel within Africa. We are the ones that are going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
I should say, we keep it sustainable.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
So who's responsible for African tourists in Ethiopia?
For African tourists.
Yeah, when tourists come, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be tourists, but any non-Ethiopians that come to the country, do they have anything special that is done for them when they come into the country, or they just come in and do what they do when they go?
Usually, they're not starting to travel without planning. They start even a year before contacting DMCs reside here. For example, the different tour operators or hotelers. They contact directly them, facilitate everything, know what they are going to see here, and they come. That way, they will be safe in traveling everywhere. It's obvious that Ethiopia is safe for travelers. It's true, but being engaged with some tour operators is giving them lots of freedom. You know, they will be entertaining a guided tour, escorted by the tour guides. So it gives them more freedom and safety. So yeah.
So the African tourism, in what way is the government involved? Or is it involved?
Yeah, a good question. African Tourism Board is more likely not a governmental, it's an NGO. It's an association which is formed by different stakeholders being together and get a legal mandate in Eswatini, as I mentioned before. But the tourism ministers are highly engaged with African Tourism Board in terms of that having an MOU to work together, signing, and then as a form of a membership and advisory boards, there are different African tourism ministers engaged. So the governmental activities or the governmental engagements are through the ministers of tourism. Okay. And as well, we had quite few agreements that we have signed, like for example, with Ethiopian Airlines, we are signing an MOU. It's on the way, in the process. As well, AU is working together with us, as well the UNWTO. Okay. So yeah, through this way, we're achieving our goal together.
So how does the intra-African fair trade help the tourism section?
Intra-Africa trade by itself, it stands that the trade between African countries, the trade relation between African countries, you know, it is not that Afrocentrism, it's entertaining the whole phase of marketing system, but it's mainly focused on African for Africa. So in that way, it is not only tourism, but the entire country development will be more engaged in this way. Because let's see that we have lots in common, I said, in terms of culture, in terms of music, in terms of destinations. We have so many things in common, which makes us feel comfortable and confident when we are going to the other African country. So selling for each other is going to give us a pride about our African culture. So when we are developing our culture, it will support the economy. We're not paying that foreign currency to outside world, but rather we are spending to our own continent. This way, the development will be ensured in economy, culture, music, and tourism. So it will benefit us a lot in these different terms, these different ways. Yeah, and even I always proud when I'm speaking about African tourism and about this development, because this is one of our phase to ensure, and this African Union policy in 2063 for African one trade, agreement. I mean, like Africa will be unified in economy that way, I believe. So as African Tourism Board engaged in this plan, we are initiating those member countries, those member companies, organizations engaged in tourism to at least entertain those African travelers with giving a discount rates. We're going to have an agreement signed between airlines, so that will give base rate for African travelers. This way, we will initiate and turn their eyes to Africa.
Right.
Yeah, we're believing that.
Pan-Africanism is the way.
Yes, exactly.
Because you mentioned it earlier, and when you were explaining it to me, it made me understand that if we were united, if we become, and if we believe in our Pan-Africanism, that means I will spend, that is the Ubuntu, I for you, you for me.
Yeah.
So if I spend in your country, you end up spending in the other country, and then it continues. So in that way, Africa as a whole will actually be better, will rise, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to take you to Mali now. Even though this Malian artist, Fatoumata Diawara, is an amazing musician. Not only is she a musician, she's a dancer, and she is just one that loves to show Malian culture on stage, whether it's by dance, by clothing, by, how she does what she does. Unbelievable. The person that actually did the video for this is an Ethiopian. Her name is Aida. So I would love to know, when she actually came to Ethiopia, what did she do? Definitely went to Afar, but then what else did they do? These are things that always I have these questions for myself, because I also bring musicians, and unfortunately I haven't been able to take them beyond Addis, but we try to, show off our little Addis Ababa. So, have you been to Mali?
Not yet, but I believe we're going to together. We're going to there.
Okay, everybody heard this one now, Hiwote. Everybody heard this one, not just the people in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Mali has some amazing cultures.
Yeah, definitely, when they are coming to Ethiopia and try to get such a kind of scenery in their music, is meant a lot. It initiates not only Malians, but other African countries. For example, you can see that in our southern Omo Valley tribes, among southern Omo Valley tribes, you can take Aris, you can take Hammers. Their way of dancing is an amazing one, which can get at the similarity to other African countries. You can name that the Kenyans, the Maasai dance, or any you can mention. So if some of a cultural ambassador of musician in different African countries like her, if they can come and take a legacy with stepping down there in the southern Omo Valley tribes and mixing their music together, it will be another, stepping up in music industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it comes to the intra-Africa fair trade, how do event organizers, how can they use it to their benefit? For example, like what you just said, if I want to take Ari Biherasab, their music to Kenya, how does that happen? How does Ethiopian government or the tourism boards or Ethiopian Airlines or whoever actually
Concerned
parties, exactly.
Yeah, look, it's not the only thing, but so many tourists who are focusing on filming and photography are also coming through our way. They contact us as a tour operator, tour provider. We have those procedures, governmental procedures, to get this permission for them through our way, and then we take them there. We can provide the other services needed, like escorting with a tour guide or providing a transportation, meal, everything. But we're facilitating things.
But before you get to all there, when this band comes, or when you're taking a band, you actually go with a lot of items. Let's say you might have your sound system, maybe you have a guitar, all these instruments that you have to take into another country or bring into our country. So in some cases, some people have to pay taxes in order to bring their items in. So, but when we're going into the inter-Africa trade, and we're supposedly we're trading culture. So how does that work?
It starts from communication.
Okay.
You know, it starts from communication, that they contact us, they start working with us. There will be lots of conversations in correspondences, in email. We go through the legal procedures. There is a media accreditation office here facilitating such things. So when we get that a letter to their embassy and the immigration office for all the listed materials they are bringing with them, it will be easy for them to facilitate things. So there are so many things in process to facilitate and make true for them to get this work done in filming and photography fields.
Yeah, but musicians is a question mark.
As well, that musicians, they have to go in this same process.
Through the process.
Yeah, because their cameras are subjected to tax. So, but this way, it will be make sure that they are taking all with them back, because the immigration will get the letter from the media accreditation office, as we are contacting and facilitating as a tour provider company based in Ethiopia, and taking the responsibility for them.
You basically, so the way it works is, let's say I'm a client, and I guess I go to Google and I look you up, or somebody recommends you. I call and I say, okay, I want to come to Ethiopia, or I want to go to Zanzibar. Obviously, you could do that too, right? You could send me anywhere I want in Africa.
Yes.
Okay. So does that mean that you guys have an affiliating office in another African country, or as a tour operators have links in different parts of Africa?
For example, I can take you I can take my experience in such requests. This is where that most importantly we are focusing after the COVID breakout. Because previously we were busy providing everything for Ethiopia as Ethiopian inbound tour providers. So when they're coming to Ethiopia, we provide only Ethiopian destinations. But now, as I'm engaging as African Tourism Board, I have different African country tour operators by my side working in partnership with me. That way we are signing an agreement. So even as one package, we're selling Africa as multiple destinations as one. For example, they start from Kenya, they come to Ethiopia, and Tanzania, Zanzibar, and back to their home. So that way, they're not missing anything from Africa. They have a cultural tour, adventurous tour. They can have a national parks tour, as well the beach in Zanzibar. So look at this. We're selling Africa as a single destination. We already started it.
That's brilliant.
What we are looking for yet is just for tourists to come and visit that way. What we are looking for is for those stakeholders who are involved in tourism industry to consider the rate and give an African rate.
So when you say rate, I have a question. Since you have an office as tour operator, not even tour operators, but you also sell tickets. So can I come to you and bargain? Let's say you tell me that going to Kenya is $1,000, and I say, come on, can you give it to me for 8? Or, you know what I mean? Can you give discounts is the big question.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what an agreement they have. We mostly don't want to lose customer. We go far, far, far what we can do to give a discount. Because we know that just by putting a pressure on customers, we cannot get the way what we want to make a profit or to get a desirable customer in our industry. We definitely bargain with them. We can consider our rates, but it depends on the hotels that we are signing an agreement, and they will give us a corporate agreement rate, which is less than they are giving for any working customers. So it will give us a freedom to give a discount a little. So we're playing with that and give the discounted rate to our customers.
So technically, flights are not negotiable unless you go to the airlines themselves.
Yeah.
So with you, I can negotiate on how long am I staying, food, accommodation, and
mostly in terms of flight, what we can do is just to consider the classes. If you're choosing business class, you might have been coming a little down to the class, or there are so many options through the system, to get a little discount with that Ethiopian Airlines given a discount in different ways. So using those systems, of course, we can come up with that. And then the more you're coming with your group, with your families, with your friends, is the more that you're getting a discount. So this way, it will initiate the customers to buy us.
It must be very hard for you to actually, trying to have all, especially right now, in this moment in Ethiopia, you have, I'm not sure how many of them have come, but 1 million of them were invited. Now, out of the 1 million, maybe half of them, or maybe about a quarter of them would like to make trips to various different African regions. Now, coming from the States, you're already on vacation, and then you want to take further. When they come to you and say, they might be telling you all these stories. So they're like, okay, but I need you. I'm taking 4 of my family members or friends, and we want to go to Zanzibar, especially because there's this big event. So how can you convince these people? You can't give them an airfare discount.
Yeah, that is...
Because I'm sorry, but the reason why I'm actually on it is because as much as we're trying to unite, we also need to start letting different African people go to different parts of Africa.
Exactly.
And the fare, I believe, has to be fair.
A question for us too, because Ethiopian Airlines, as I said, so it's a pride in Africa. So for Africans, they must have to provide a special rate. Most importantly for Ethiopians, to develop the culture of visiting Africa, they have to be engaged in giving a discount rate for the residents of Ethiopians to go to different African countries and visit. Even they can provide by themselves. There is Ethiopian Airlines tour provider company, Ethio Holidays. So of course they started it. I saw quite few promotional materials circulated, the Zanzibar, the Tanzania, and something like. But it should have to be widely promoted with a discounted rate, so that Ethiopians will be more familiar to this kind of trips.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm believing.
To also be aware of the continent,
Yeah.
what we have. We are so rich in culture and food, and I mean, we could go on.
Yeah.
So it's time that we actually traveled within Africa.
Yeah.
This time I'm going to take you to Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, the country of the upright men. One of the things that I really, really like about Africa, and what I like to actually focus on, is our similarities. You know, we do have a lot of differences, but I believe our similarities are actually a lot more than our differences. And one of it being musically.
Exactly.
So we play masinko, we play karar. And you'd be surprised at how many different African countries actually play these instruments. So one of the things that me and Hiwote would be doing in the future is combining the Ethiopian masinko player with the Moroccan masinko player.
Exactly.
And I've noticed a lot of people don't even know that the Moroccans play the masinko.
Imagine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Burkina Faso. So have you been to Burkina Faso? Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh my God, me and you are going to
Yeah.
be traveling. I don't know who's going to be the tour guide, me or you.
In quite few of them yet, but
Where have you been?
like Tanzania, Zanzibar, and once in just a brief time in Kenya, but it's not that too much for me. Since I'm engaging with African Tourism Board, I'm planning.
I'm just going crazy.
I'm planning.
Goodness.
Look at this. There are so many events we are providing. For example, like in Botswana, we're going to have African Cultural Carnival. In Senegal, we're planning yet about a music festival. So through all this way, for sure, I'm going to travel. Yeah.
And since
So-
we also, as Africa show, intend on doing that in the future, is I really would love to focus on our cultural
Exactly.
festivals,
Yes.
because we have such a rich culture, and as Ethiopians, I don't think we're actually exposed to that side of Africa, the cultural side.
For example, that you mentioned that the Mali's and the Burkina Faso song, see their melodies resemblance with Ethiopia. You know, we're always going and feel comfort listening and experiencing different culture with a similarity.
Yeah, because
We have to work beauty in diversity.
yes.
So this is really meaningful for me because when you see the dancing, the musical instruments, and the melody, we have so many things in common.
And you know where I'm going to take you now? I'm enjoying actually playing these music for you because of who you are. And you can, your mind goes.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned Gambella, and I had chosen one of their songs for you.
Oh, that's nice.
Because like you said, they are very rich in
Yes.
culture also.
Yes, exactly.
Wait up and tongue then come, 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 wait up and tongue.
Pan-Africanism and being Ethiopian. Now, they say we started Pan-Africanism, right? So, but then it stopped, and then, well, it didn't stop, but
It didn't.
exactly, it can't.
Like
So, but
funny.
now it's coming up again.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what does it mean to be Ethiopian and Pan-African?
Pan-Africanism for me is not stopped there. It has been started politically, but it is going on culturally, economically, and in tourism sector as well. As Ethiopia is a home for African Union, and as it's a set of different diplomats, as it's a set of a diplomat city, we are having much more than others a responsibility, to appeal and advocate Pan-Africanism. We're having this accessibility because we are doing a lot by our ancestors, by our fathers, but the pressure is coming now, because it's not one phase of achievement for me that Pan-Africanism is. We have to work on African economical development through culture, music, tourism. So this way we will achieve together the greatest Pan-Africanism. So all what we are doing is, for me, that a way of Pan-Africanism for all Africans, when we are working and collaborating together, standing together to advocate Pan-Africanism, to advocate our culture, our development. So as being Ethiopian, having all that history of Pan-Africanism, we have to be equally served as an advocacy on defending Pan-Africanism, progressing our activities in different aspects. Like we can see that we are having different culture, different like calendar, or different, so many differences, but that makes everybody proud, because their capital city is something valuable, is something unique. They can even show Ethiopia as a destination. They can sell. Even when I'm speaking out about Ethiopia, most of African tour operators are saying, "Are you kidding? Are you 7 years late?" They're saying, "Yes, we are just that. We're having our alphabet. We're having this, that, so many differences." They're so amused and feel proud. They want even to give a priority as a destination to sell Ethiopia. So this way, we have to appeal our unity. So that's what I'm believing in Pan-Africanism.
If you have any messages to the world, not only Africans, but to the world, this would be the best time for you to send it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's indeed a great honor for me to get this opportunity and speak about Africa and Ethiopia and about our cultures. Epiphany, Timkat, is a meaningful for me because this is, as a tour operator, this is our high season, receiving and welcoming so many tourists to visit Ethiopia. This is also a meaningful event for all of us to come out with the best outfit of us. We're showing our culture, we're showing our beauty. This way is just proudly showing Ethiopia in such a little gathering. We can say it little because it may be on the specific place in Gondar or in Addis, but it means a lot. It shows that how religious culture, like the clergists are singing the spiritual song, they're dancing with different instruments of Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and those who are happily singing and dancing and celebrating Epiphany is meant a lot. Even it is a source. It's a source of family formation. Right. Ladies are becoming with the best outfit of them, and boys are looking to them, and it's a beginning. It's a starting of new life and new family. So it meant a lot. And with this, I would like to say for all Orthodox Christian religion followers a happy Epiphany, happy ጥምቀት. Thank you.
We also thank you very much for taking the time out to come to our studio and have a conversation with us.
Thank you.
And I also say to all the Orthodox Christians, happy ጥምቀት. So before we say our goodbyes, we would like to, the AU Summit is coming next week.
Yes.
I believe it starts on the 22nd till the 25th. So we would like to say welcome to all the different African, I think most of them are coming this time, I'm not sure, but I think it's been okay and they're all coming. So we would like to say welcome to Ethiopia. And AfreeQa would like to say thank you for being with us. This is your host Qatsalaworq Seifu, and I was with Hiwote Anberber today. See you next week.